Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Church of Logic. I'm Cody Rue, and today I'm with Camille Rue, and this is our first episode. So we're just going to talk about kind of how the format is going to be, and and what this podcast is going to be all about.
Hello, and welcome to the Church of Logic. So, I don't know anything about logic, and Cody has a pretty good background on logic, and I would like for him to explain to me first, why does he love logic so much? Why do you love logic so much?
I'm not sure I have a good answer for that question, but I don't know. When I was in high school, I think I started to really get into mathematics, but there was something there's something about mathematics that's frustrating. That's both enticing, which is you feel like there's really a deep understanding of the mechanics, right? There's nothing hidden. But at the same time, in high school and even beyond, the actual core, the definitions, the intrinsic nature of mathematical objects is always kind of hidden. And I feel like that feeling has stuck with me and gotten stronger. And once I discovered kind of the foundations of mathematical logic, increasingly I got really a lot, more excited because there's some fascinating things there, and it's fascinating philosophical questions about what we believe in and what is actually like the core of our understanding and even the world. But also there are really cool kind of mathy questions, little puzzles and things that make mathematicians tick. So I think the combination of those things was really exciting.
Cool. And so you've mentioned mathematics. Uh, there's also other fields that you've worked in that also use logic. Could you explain to us which are these fields and how does logic kind of intertwine all these fields together?
Yeah, of course. So I mean, mathematical logic has math in the in the name, but I think the main field that uses logic in a very profound way is computer science. And I'm not sure there's this clear kind of cut between computer science and mathematics, but yeah, in some sense, I think computer science is basically applied logic, right? It's practically, people often talk about statistics as applied mathematics, but computer science is really applied logic. And I think there is something really cool, and there's kind of, it's probably not a coincidence, but the appearance of mathematical logic and the appearance of computers in the digital age, are really not that far apart, and they're very intertwined. So I think there's something very profound about our invention or discovery of mathematical logic and our invention and discovery of the principles of computer science. And so there's a very strong connection there, and a very strong interplay between the very pragmatic practicalities of getting computers to work and do things we want, and this kind of beautiful theory. And the other big field, I mean, which is essentially the origin of mathematical logic, is philosophy. So there are a lot of deep questions in philosophy about the nature of reality and the nature of thought and the nature of knowledge. And some of these questions, I think, can at least be addressed, or some insights can be gained from mathematical logic. And I think this is a strong current of thought in sort of modern, analytical philosophy. And I think that's interesting too, right? And it's exciting. And I think even epistemology and metaphysics, the actual nature of existence, people have asked these questions using mathematical logic. So that's kind of exciting. I don't know that I'll be able to really talk to these, but I think at least it's part of what sparks the interest in this subject.
What I also find fascinating about logic is its history and the people who developed that field. And I don't understand really the technicalities of logic, but just the history in itself is very fascinating. Will we be talking about this in the podcast?
You know we will. But yeah, of course. I love history of mathematics. I think generally, I like this field, but also, it's kind of a gateway drug to history in general, right? When you dig down into it, history is about people and people that are like us, that have interesting lives, that have interesting stories, that live during exciting or dangerous times, and logic is really no exception. I think the interplay between discovering new philosophical concepts and how they emerged, it's very easy to look back and understand things, and they're perfectly like clean and well defined, but seeing them at a time where they're not clean and well defined is kind of interesting and exciting. And at the same time, you have these people with really interesting lives, with really you know, checkered or troubled pasts, or even just inner conflict. And I think it's kind of fun just to see what these people were like and what their element was like and what their interactions were like. And I think it's fun. And there are plenty of like really fun anecdotes and crazy things that happen to them. I'd say mostly it'll cover, the recent past. I'd say modern logic started in, late 19th century. So it's not, this huge overarching history of mankind thing. But at the same time, talking about these relatively recent figures is it's nice because we have a lot of information on them, and we have a lot of documentation, and it's very fun.
Great. So, is there any theories that you find more interesting, or anything that you would like to address in the podcasts first?
I'm not sure. The next couple of episodes, I think, are going to just be trying to lay the groundwork about the emergence of mathematical logic, talking about some of the paradoxes that arose first, trying to give a little bit of historical background, and then maybe I'll address the main. I think the main results of mathematical logic and try to explain why they're interesting, and just try and give everyone a shared perspective so that, as the later podcasts go into more detail or become a little bit more esoteric, at least there's some basics that have been covered. I'd also like the format to be pretty short, like 10 minutes-ish per concept, or per thing I talk about. And then, I can have several of them if it requires more time, but hopefully the 10 minutes will just give sort of a bite-sized introduction to whatever it is I'm trying to communicate.
That sounds great. So in 10 minutes, a little bit of history, a little bit of technicality, and that sounds like you're going to reach to a pretty large panel of people. That's great.
I don't know about that, but certainly if you share my interests, and I know there are people out there that do, there's going to be at least a few things to enjoy in this podcast. All right.
Great.
So I hope to see you on a bunch of these, and I hope to hear feedback if you have any, and enjoy.
Thank you for listening.